Testing, testing. Are we live yet? All right. Yep. Pause for a quick ad break before I double check and make sure I am live. Alright, what is up, my peoply persons of the gem variety? This is Luciandevine here, covering the Warren Tuesday Delve event. My puppy is off in the other room, but I can bring him into the room if there is a request for him. I'm going to try not to let the echo that I'm hearing affect me too much. I am not sure why this didn't hit me last time, but, you know, we're just going to deal with it for now. Alright. Alright, we'll get going in just 1 second. Alright. So, the main reason I'm doing this particular stream is to highlight the Warren's Delve event. This is actually one of my favorite delves because it is yellow. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and buy the first two in the shop. This particular delve isn't really the best when it comes to like the delve chests, so odds are likely that we're going to need that chest in order to get all the 9 fights that we need to get the reward. Alright, again, I'm still hearing the echo. I'm sorry about that. I'm just trying to deal with that right now. Alright, so this is the team that I normally use when I get up to the higher level events. Gorgotha, Divinia, Bard with Dawnbringer, and High King Irongut. But what we are actually going to do right now is we're going to highlight one of the other teams that people can use. So we're just going to start out with all yellow troops and use the Bard class. Alright, so we're just going to drop to the bottom, even though we're not really going to use many of them. So one of the best tanks early on is Knight Coronet. Knight Coronet is one of the best tanks, and I mentioned that we're talking with just early troops that people can use. So we're going to use Atlanta, and then we're just going to kind of pick a random yellow troop. So what other epics do we have? I'm not going to use any of the legendaries or mythics just yet. We're just highlighting some of the lower level troops. Not purple. Now, Demotraxia, we'll use Penglong for now, and we'll use a weapon that most people do have access to, and that's Runic Blade. So now again, we're just going to run Bard class for now, and then we're going to change the banner. It's not really that impactful with this particular team, like double yellow something. So probably Lantern. We'll go with Talon for now. Where's my cook? Okay. Alright, so the basic premise, now I didn't highlight the troops involved. Alright, so Knight Coronet, remove all purple gems, deal 38 damage to the first and last, boosted by gems removed. He is the only one of these troops right now that you do not get for free doing the quest line. Atlanta, 33 damage to all enemies. Hang Long, 32 damage to all enemies, boosted by enchanted allies. And then, of course, Runic Blade, one of the best early game weapons that people have access to. Now, with this particular team, you really just kind of try and fill the troops. There's not really much rhyme, reason, or strategy to it other than that. It doesn't have any exploders, it doesn't have any real mana generation. It's just for the lower level delves when you are just trying to smash your way through. Okay. Now, for these particular delve events, the main thing you want to look at is the room treasure multiplier. Now, you'll see in this case, one has 1.2 and the other one has 1.2, so we're actually going to look at the rooms behind it. Here, 1.25, 1.4, so we're going to go for that 1.4 first. And the reason we do that is because you want to try and get the highest treasure room multiplier that you can the fastest. And that's because it also affects the event points that you get, which will affect how many points you get further up. So like here, 230 faction assault points. So like when we do this fight, the higher up you go, the base points increase. So right now, this one has 100 base points, and it's going to be multiplied by 2.7, because it takes the base multiplier you're at, plus the one that you're going to be getting. So this one should be 270 faction assault points. And most people, when they do these events, they try to get as many points using as few gems as possible, which is why we're just going to try to get as many points as we can, using as few fights, as few gems, etc. So here again, we have 1.3, 1.2, and 1.2, so we're going to take this 1.3. When you get up to higher levels, you kind of end up doing like the path of least resistance. You end up doing the easiest fights along the way, but at lower levels, you are focusing on just on the treasure room multiplier. Ranged. Let's just go ahead and smash through. Oh, and the reason we use Bard for this team is simply put, 1.25 is next. This last trait. +1 to all stats at the start of each turn. So, again, Knight Coronet will start base 32, then do 33, 31, and damage to all enemies. So it takes those lower rarity yellow troops that basically everybody has access to, and it just turns them into powerhouses the longer the fight goes. And we use Runic Blade here because 49 damage, sure, why not? And then +10 to all stats, so now it'll do 60 damage. So now we've got 1.2, 1.2, 1.15. So now we just quick clear out the rest of the fight. While we're doing this, does anybody have any questions or anything about the Delve event, or anything really? Questions do not have to be specific to the faction event. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. That was a mistake. I meant to do the other 1.2. That's okay. We'll probably get there. That's me just spacing out. I'm seeing the lag delay on the monitor beside me, so it's making me think that it's my turn, but they're still moving. Hi Braddock, it's good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns? Aside from us, of course, trying to kill everything all the time, because that's the Lucian way. Yeah, this particular delve has a lot of RNG in it because of these tricksters. These exploding 3 gems isn't really that bad, but switching the first and last enemies is a real pain in the butt for most people. I'm doing pretty good today. I woke up around 2 or 3 o'clock my time. The sun and I don't really get along, so I try to avoid it as best I can. Alright, so we'll collect that. Just get that first reward. So now, as we go, we're just going to kind of slowly upgrade our troops. So Bull Tauros isn't bad. Carmilla isn't bad. I think we might actually go with one of the legendary troops now. Oh, apparently I have enough to upgrade that. It is annoyingly annoying. For sure. Alright, Ursula isn't bad either. So, we'll go ahead and just swap in. No, Grapple Pod is objectively weaker than what we've got. Sure, why not? We'll focus on Luna. So we'll take out, and then we'll just swap up the weapon to a different one that we've got. Not everyone is likely to have access to this one, but I'm going to be swapping it back later on, so 34, 32. So now that this weapon does damage to everybody, actually we'll keep him on top for, there we go. Because Knight Coronet is still tanking for us. We're not going to put in our Gorgotha or our Divinia just yet. We're just, again, highlighting lower level troops that people have access to, and then we're just going to upgrade the team slowly along the way in what'll kind of be a natural progression that people will have. So that's 5, 4, 1.25. So now here's where we kind of do just like a tiny bit of math. 1.2 plus 1.25 is 1.45, and 1.15 plus 1.4 is 1.55. So even though this one has a little bit less points than this, because of the amount of points that this room gets versus this room. So we're actually going to do the 1.15 room first. I'm a while till you get my input to the fight. I am not sure what you're trying to say there, Braddock. Sorry. Alright, and then, now one interesting thing about Knight Coronet is if there's only one troop left, now granted it doesn't matter for this particular fight, he will actually hit the same troop twice. Now, not every troop that says it hits the top and bottom will do that. For example, Giant Crab will do that, but Skeleton Key will not. So I'm not really sure what, and I asked Kafka about it one time, and when I asked her which one of the troops was functioning normally, she told me that both of them were. So I am not sure what exactly that means, how they do different things, but the wording is exactly the same. My favorite one of the new rooms that they've ever added. All allied troops gain arcane at the start of future battles. I'm glad to hear it, Braddock. Yeah, like I took some time actually to like see when, like, if the value of the current room counts towards the points that you get, and I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised that it was. Yeah, and like it only really matters for like the specific events. Like when you're doing the normal fights, it only affects the gold, the souls, and the glory. So like these will be multiplied by this plus this. So like this particular room, it's gonna be times 3.2. So 150 times 3.2, because that's 2.95 plus 1.25. So this particular room should give us 480 event assault points. And yeah, it doesn't always matter, but when you're trying to like get to the end of the faction event and end up spending 0 gems instead of the 30 gems, those tiny amounts can actually really add up. Green and dead. Yeah, like it seems so small and insignificant, but yeah, like I said, 480 faction points. So it does take what you're currently at plus the actual value of the room itself when it hands you the points. Alright, that. Fire off Sun and Moon. Yeah, like Sun and Moon is the only one of the $5 weapons that I happily bought when it came to the event shop, is because all the other yellow and purple weapons either do damage to a single target or do scatter damage, and I love that it does damage to everybody. Yeah, I was originally going to use it with Tian Yi, but I haven't really been PvPing much with my Bard team. I've been having fun with my Zul team, so. So we'll go with that. Chant. And dead. Yeah, like the small magic buff isn't bad. Then again, we also have the all our troops have arcane right now, which is just utterly bonkers. Like especially when we get to the teams where we'll be using like Gorgotha and Gavinia and just gaining +1 magic to everybody with every spell that we cast. It just really builds up to pretty crazy. So now here we're just going to cast Night Coronet. Then there we go. Now we get over to here. And now we get to fight everybody's favorite trickster. And thank you, Amount of Dame. She's pointing out that if you guys like what you see, please hit the follow button. It will really help me out. I'm going to try and do a stream every Tuesday to try to highlight these delve events where I can either give people ideas for like fast farming teams or teams to just like slowly build up as they go, and then eventually I can help people with like those top end delves. Alright, so we'll claim this reward. This reward. Alright, oops. Hit escape one too many times. Now remember, you can never have too many chaos shards. You never know how many you're gonna need, right? Alright, so now we're gonna upgrade one more time. Now we're gonna put in my favorite troop in the entire game. Now, Gorgotha is hands down my favorite troop. Gorgotha plus Bard got me through the entire early game. He was the first legendary I got on this account, and that is just so many gems exploded. Now, Penglong is kind of sort of eclipsed at this point, but we're still just going to kind of keep him. Luna, she's so much better. She's a base legendary Sun and Moon, but again, he's free. I ignore the daily delves too, but part of that is because I've already got all of the delve pets, so I don't really need to do it anymore. But while I'm trying to get the pets, I am trying to hit them up every time. My mind is still taking blue gems, even though Night Coronet isn't in the team anymore. And you'll notice that I switched the banner to the Guardian banner when I put in 1 second, 1.2, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. Because now that we have an exploder and a mana generator, now I always put the banner as the mana generator, and that just helps increase the amount of mana that he can generate for me even more. Spirit Fox. I always hate when Spirit Fox fills itself again. It's like, how did you just remove the yellows, but still luck into the matches to fill yourself? Oh, Spirit Fox. Oh. Take this 1.5. Now, see, again here, now that we have such a quality tank in Gorgotha, like, I could take these skulls, but especially when you got the Bard buff rolling, I'd rather take the gems to fill Gorgotha, because, like, he hit me with skulls, and he did no damage at all. Oh, I heard the ding. Somebody did something. 1 second. Thank you, Braddock, for the follow. Thank you, Braddock, for the follow. Oops, I didn't know that was a match. Uh-oh. Leviathan is a little scary. Leviathan isn't normally scary, but I don't like it when people reorder my team, especially early on in the fight. Or early on in the delta, it is, so that's right, we're going up here. Speaking of people reordering my team, hello, Cedric. JZG, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Alright, that's a good time to have Peng Long now that we've got the red. Now the biggest, now it doesn't really matter with this particular team, but something that people always forget about is that Cedric is stealthy. So even if you're running something like, I mean not Infernus, but if you're running something like Iron Guts, you can't target him, so just having a healthy amount of AoE just makes him nice and open to killing. Hello JZG, welcome to the stream. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns while we are here? We've gone through a couple of team iterations so far, starting with a basic Bard team and then a slightly more advanced, and now we're adding in a couple of the legendaries. So Sun and Moon. I love Sun and Moon so much. Like, I was looking at the spoilers and I saw it and I was just so excited. I was like counting down the days for when it came. Alright, so now we have 1.25, 1.2. Now I apologize that I keep like checking these every time. Again, I'm trying to just get these done in as few fights as possible, so I always just like double check to make sure that I'm hitting the rooms in the right order. Yeah, double, triple, quadruple check, right? So start with Peng Long, go with Sun and Moon. Yeah, like I love Sun and Moon. It is so good. Like, if you can try using it with Tian Yi. One of the big problems I had with Tian Yi is that he shares the colors with Dawnbringer. But when you have Sun and Moon, you can kind of work around that. I'm just waiting now for a yellow-green weapon that does proper damage to everybody. And no, I don't count Garland Staff. Like, a lot of people like Garland Staff, but I am not a fan. I don't like scatter damage unless it has a big boost ratio, like Sunbird, Rowan, etc. Oopsie. Oopsie, I missed a 4 match there. So now... Alright, so what do people want to see for the next iteration? Do we want to see Divinia, or do we want to see, do we want to start in with the Mythics or other troops? So Braddock is asking a question, and he is right. The question is it just hammer? Does every delve have sort of a certain order to maximize chest rarity, not specifically room by room? Alright, now for the most part you are right, but there are a few outliers. One specifically is the Goblin Room. There's a Goblin Room that pops up as a level 5 room, and unlike most of the level 5 rooms, which have like a 1.3, 1.4, or 1.5, the Goblin Room has a 1.2. And like some of the blues, some of the greens have a 1.2, some of the blues have a 1.3. So while in most, I'll see if I can find some. So like 1.3, 1.4, 1.3. I know we're getting a little off track, but I'm going to try to help answer that question for you. Yeah, like right here, this is a blue room that has a 1.15, and some of the green rooms, like the Cedric room, have like a 1.2. So in that particular case, you would want to do the green 1.2 instead of the blue 1.15. Or here, this is a blue 1.3. And here, like if we could, we would try and take this blue 1.3 instead of this purple 1.2. So for the most part, you can go by the color of the room, but not always. One point three, 1.25, 1.15. Trying to find that goblin room. I don't think this one has any 5s. 1.3. Yeah, we'll get back to the delve in a second. But yeah, so like that's why I always check them, is because the number is more important than the color of the room. As far as like chest level goes, like that's what the real color of the room emphasizes, because the 5 rooms all have a 50%, the 4 rooms all have a 40%, etc. Alright, so do people want to start seeing the mythics, or do they want to see one more legendary in action. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so we've got no answer yet, so we're gonna do one more fight. Where are you? Divinia is hiding from me. Oopsie, there's no backslash in Divinia. Okay, so now we're gonna get rid of him, and now note that we took out a damage dealer, but it's not really going to affect our overall damage output because now we've got 2 exploders, so we should be rolling fine. Take the red. Yeah, and one of the delves where I really like having Divinia is this one, because all of that health that she gives can help whatever your bottom troop is help survive the skull hits until the trickster swaps him back around. Because like right now we could like fire off and basically kill pretty much everybody, but if we do that now, Gorgotha is going to be stuck at the bottom, and that's not really where we want all of this to be for the entire rest of the delve. Oops, and then I cast the wrong troop and do it anyway. So that's a thing that happened. Oh. Gorgotha's tired of tanking anyway. He wants to take a break down at the bottom. Oh, Lord. Alright, so 1.3, 1.15, that's 1.45. So here again, these two have the exact same total, 1.25, so that's 1.45, 1.15, and 1.45. So now what we're actually going to do is, since they have the exact same total, we're going to take the one that has a slightly higher initial output, just because it'll boost us just that tiniest bit further on in the delve. But yeah, I mean, it's still, we're early on in the delve, so we're not actually expecting to die. It's just, I'm sitting there explaining why I shouldn't, and then I just go ahead and misclick and do it anyway. Let's see, is this enough skull damage plus the burn? But yeah, that's the kind of mistake that can absolutely kill you in the higher level delves. Green. So most of the people. Yeah. Explode. Yep. Or they could summon an ancient horror. That's good too. But look away from the screen, and the ancient horror decides that it wants to live. So again, while we're breezing through, does anybody have any questions about anything at all? Right. So now I'll take this one, 2. Another reason why I like Luna when you have access to her is that bottom trait can also just be really good for mana generation. It's not quite as good as Possessed King, but it's still pretty good. Down here, this 3. Brown, brown, red. Brown, blue. We'll take the skulls, we'll take the red. Oh, we got frozen. I forgot that Gorgotha wasn't on top. I'm so used to Gorgotha being on top, I just straight forgot that he wasn't there anymore. Okay, 5, what? Oh. Yellow. Purple. Sun and moon. We go for these are 1.5. And are there any green keys we could feature? Just trying to like muse aloud and think if there's any like mono green teams that we could feature, maybe teams that people had used for last week's Tower of Doom. But yeah, like whenever I have access to like a full-on bard team, I generally do it just because it's good for everybody. It just helps. Dark is saying I could try a Mountain Crusher Apothecary Tina Iron Gut. I can certainly try that next round. As I said, we were slowly upgrading the teams, so that is a team I can certainly try. You have any particular class in mind? You think in Titan, I'm guessing? Oh yeah, I'm sure it's fast. It sounds fast. Sun and Moon. Luna. Save him, because if this trickster lives and puts us back, we can cast Golgotha, but then it decided it wanted to die. Alright. Let's see what we get out of this Orb of Chaos. Wisdom. What do we have over here? Trophy, Zulkari, blue mana. Okay. Alright. Fight, 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 edit. Go ahead and just do it. And Iron Gut. Alright. So banner, do you normally go with Kraken banner for this? And then Braddock is suggesting a Sun Spear, Flame of Fire, Phoenicia, Infernus, Moon Rabbit team. That is certainly another something we can try. Titan, equip, Titan, customize. Oh, I realized that's something I forgot to emphasize is mostly the talents that I use for my bard are kind of sort of self-explanatory. I like Serendipity over like Magic Shield because I like the random status effect. You don't normally see like Resplendence or Well Read end up very well, so I just go with Mage Lord in case it's at the bottom. Golden Protector and Anti-Magic Sphere kind of depend on the scenario. But actually, I start with Anti-Magic Sphere, and if something actually happens to die, you can actually switch your talents in the middle via a different team and switch to Golem Protector to gain access to a potential Golem. Mana source is kind of a given. The 50% mana is important. Plus 2 to all skills in first position. I just like all allies gain when mentioned. Magic. Yeah. Tree of Knowledge, the enchant on green is just really, really helpful once the initial stuff wears off. And these kind of take your pick. And then we have Titan. Titan is also fairly self-explanatory. Most people take Impact at first. You can use Chaos Storm if you're running a heavy looping team, but that's not really super important. Ferocity is not that great either. You can sort of gain the 2 magic if you're using a hammer, but Mountain Crusher basically destroys all the browns anyway, so it's not really necessary. Same kind of goes with that, so counterattack. Again, Stone Circle is really just kind of like the best bet because the others don't matter. Storm Aura, that Dust Storm to start the fight with Mountain Crusher is super helpful. The rest don't really matter. Rock Solid is one of the best trait or talents in the entire game. Lightning Strike helps with the looping. The Bloodthirsty is helpful if you have certain teams where you're trying to bash through a heavy tank. And then, of course, Fortitude for the immune to all of the things. Alrighty. Alright, now, one reason why I do like Iron Gut, both in the normal teams that I use and teams like this, is if he devours, he can really start to tank a fair few skull hits and can sometimes finish the last fight all on his own if something bad happens. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. You don't always need him to do that, but it's nice. It's nice that he can do that if you need it. So, Apothecary on purple, Tina, Viral. Yeah. I can't devour Lapina Knight because she decided she wanted to bless herself. Alright, so for those who kind of want to wonder about the current team on its own, that's... So here again, we have 1.3 plus 1.15, that's 1.45, but this 1.3 plus 1.25 is more points overall. So, Mountain Crusher explode basically all the brown gems on the board. Apothecary is 2 different colors from Mountain Crusher. Transform a selected mana color to brown. Helps feed both Mountain Crusher and the troops below. Tina does ridiculous true damage to 1 to 3 targets. And Iron Gut base damage with a chance to devour. We'll take green to work on Apothecary. Let him have that. Let's take this red for Tina. Explode browns. Yeah, fixed Tina is just so bonkers good. It's definitely what we were hoping we'd see from Tina when she first popped up. And that. Out so I can stretch my legs a little bit. Alright. Blue, red, Apothecary is full. That. Now, one good thing about Tina 2 is that where Iron Gut can't necessarily do all that much in these rooms that are all dwarf, Tina just does a healthy dose of true damage to fix that potential problem. Another 1.3 on our way down to that 1.3. Yeah, let's go ahead and take this brown. Oh, I forgot that Gimlet turns green to brown. Thankfully, it's still early on, so we don't super get punished for mistakes just yet. Can we devour you? We cannot. I always forget that Iron Gut gives an extra turn. I'm so focused on the fact that he devours that I just completely overlook that fact. Oh, I forgot to turn that light off. I'm sorry. Normally I turn my background light off. That's it. Is that better? I wasn't necessarily sure if I was going to do this stream today because it was going to be my first Tuesday stream, so I wasn't quite ready with all of my prep work. So I'm sorry if that light was blinding anybody. Thank you, Amanda Dame, for reminding me to do that. Now, for those that don't know, there are a variety of 5 matches, one of which does include the plus sign. So doing that will result in... So doing that did give us an extra turn. Just take a couple. See if we can devour Shegra. With this particular team and any team that has Shegra, Shegra is always my primary target because the amount of skulls that she produces is just brutal. And even if you've got skull resist, or even if you've got a barrier, it can really just bash through it, especially later on. And here was another thing for, I believe it was Braddock. This blue is a 1.15, and this green is a 1.2. So this is another situation where you would take the green 1.2 over the blue 1.15. Since we might get drained, let's go ahead and do that. Who are you going to drain? Definitely one of the minions. Turn red. I suppose we'll try and devour the only one that we can. Nice devour. And unfortunately, these guys are still low enough level that one devour does not equal 100 attack, which would give him the 100% chance to devour. Soon, though. Soon. Those are the fights that he loves the most, is where he just devours the whole world. Because sometimes that's a thing that you need to do. Yeah, and the high level delves, when I get an Iron Cut Devour, I no longer focus on damage. It's all just fill up, like explode, 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 fill up Iron Gut, Devour, rinse, and repeat. That. Speaking of things that give a 5 match, anything that forms an L, or even a T for that matter. Like, we don't have any right now, but a giant L will also give us a 5 match. Like, take this skull. I think this should be enough to kill. I do like the team. I don't normally, like, Tuesday delves are the only days that I really delve, so it is definitely super efficient. How well does it work in the higher level delves? That's always a question that kind of people have. Is it's not normally too hard to do stuff in the lower levels, but I always wonder how well certain teams do at the higher end. To 500, that's pretty impressive. I mean, Iron Gut definitely has that potential, for sure. Browns, mountain pressure. It's only 7 gens, but we'll explode it anyway. That. Step 1 in the last fight is always to try and kill the Trickster, because the Trickster is a pain in the butt. Oh, excuse me. Alright. So, claim these rewards. These rewards. Vault key. We'll just go ahead and do that quick. It'll be real quick. Bird Bomb. Right now I'm leveling my Rune Priest, so Sunbird, Imperial Jewel, Forest Guardian for the 50% mana on. JZG asking me why I don't have the mana details on. And that's a question I get a lot, but especially with teams like this, I run a lot of looping teams. It's just not necessary. Another Orb of Chaos. Like, because when you're running Mountain Crusher and you're running Apothecary, you're just going to transform things to equal a 4 or a 5 match, and then you're just going to fire off Mountain Crusher or do the damage. So, especially with lower levels like this, the numbers just kind of distract me. So, I just play the team and the board, and I don't worry about the mana. Alright, so this was Sun Spear. Flame Fire. Venetia. That's Infernus. And And what banner did you normally recommend for this particular team? This team was suggested by... This team was suggested by Braddock. Braddock, what banner do you normally use? Do you use Guardian Banner to fill Flammifier? Or do you use, Guardian Banner? And, well, while we wait for that, create 10 red gems, deal 33 damage to an enemy boosted by red gems. Venetia, X damage to all enemies boosted by red gems and burning enemies. The 1-to-1 ratio is what makes that kind of bonkers. And it does double damage if there's a firestorm, which our Sun Spear has a permanent firestorm. And then we have Infernus, which does splash damage to 2 enemies. And then burns all enemies on a 4 or 5 match. And then Moon Rabbit is there to start things off by hopefully filling Flame of Fire by turning blue to yellow. Yellow to Red Lantern. Alright, so here we have a nice start with all of this yellow, so then I'm kind of tempted to just fire her off. 29, that makes 38, that makes 42, so that's like 80 damage to everybody? Yeah. That's why I really like Venetia. It's like, can she just kill everybody? I feel like she can just kill everybody. 1.15, that makes 1.45, 1.2. Alright, so here we can't use our Moon Rabbit right away, but we've got a 4-match yellow, 4-match brown, 4-match red. We'll take this yellow. How many reds are on the board? 8, so that makes 18. We'll take this yellow instead. Nisha. Well, damage the Magnus. I have the worst luck with Flammifier. It always tends to just slaughter me. That's just the way it always works for me. Like when I play with it, I never have the most luck with it, but then when I play against it, it just like utterly destroys my base. Like a lot. This is one of the fights where Venetia can't always do her thing because 3 of these guys are immune to burning. We've got a fair few reds though, so we'll work on that. So we'll start by weakening everybody. And there we go. But yeah, having that controllable double damage, like, even right now, it's 80 damage to everybody, which is just, she's kind of ludicrous. And you know what she needs? Clearly she needs Arcane, right? Let's get more magic with every cast. That sounds totally fair. This isn't a format, but we'll just take all of this yellow. Let him do that. Fire off this. So 29, 31, no, 29, 41, 90 damage to everybody. That sounds like a good start. Yeah, we'll start with that, and then we'll rinse and repeat until everybody dies. Yeah, like with weapons like Flammifier or other abilities that do random gem creation, I sort of like pick a number that kind of like sounds okay. Like if there's this number of red gems, I'll cast it and let the dice fall where they will. We're not going to take this skull because Glaceon is pretty tanky, but we'll hit Glaceon. And yeah, like that. This is just bonkers. This is gonna be about over 100 damage to everybody. And sometimes you got to do 100 damage to everybody, and everybody dies. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm always afraid of the 4 mimic room. You never know when they might just decide that 1 in 6 chance we're just gonna eat you. Hello Trey, Traylin MC, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm always happy to respond. We'll just take these yellows, or I could have taken that 4 red, but you know, who does that? Who takes that 4 red anyway? 39. We'll just do a bunch of damage. Like, the thing with Venetia is it always just seems like, I'll just do a bunch of damage and see what's left alive, you know? And just see where the gems fall and what's left. I mean, because when you can do 100 damage to everybody, it's just like, we'll worry about strategy after that. Red. And eventually, like pretty soon, she'll have a 50% mana troop. Elementals are getting a 50% mana troop. Yeah, like, I mean, 20 gems, that's got decent odds. I'll just hit this guy. Then he's gonna take all of my reds, because he's a jerk. They're always so mean, taking all my gems. I can't wait till we get a red bard soon. Because I want to be able to use, like, Sun Spear for that permanent firestorm, and then also have that red bard effect. I mean, not soon, but hopefully. Alright, now this is what I mentioned before. If something makes a T, or like we said, the plus sign, or the L, it gives the full match. This has decent odds. 29, 44, plus on fire, that's 48, so 96 damage to everybody. It is definitely fun. I would be lying if I said it was not fun. Yellow to blue, yellow to blue. Like, normally I would just, like, cast it, but I'm afraid to put that much yellow on the board with their Luna. Now, you know what? We're just gonna throw strategy aside for now. We'll just keep crippling Trickster, because Trickster's a jerk. Yellow, yellow. This should maybe kinda, yeah, it's like, should maybe kinda kill him? I don't know, let's find out, right? Maybe kinda sorta dead. Alright. Anybody have any other team requests they would like to see us try? Collect my tribute before I forget. PvP with that. Lost. Sad. So what else do we have in yellow? Edit that base 30. But not just yellow. I mean, Infernus is something we highlighted. Ketris is an option. Like, he does a lot of damage, but I'm always just really worried because, like, when he gets hit, he loses like a third of his boost ratio. Yeah, like, I can understand why the Moon Rabbit helps. Like, just having that potential to turn 1, get Flame of Fire started definitely makes a lot of sense. Especially since in order to get that Firestorm every turn, you sacrifice a 50% mana start. So while we're here, I guess we'll just start with the team that I normally run, and then we'll see if anybody has anything else that they want us to try on our last run. It wouldn't be a Bard team without a Bardbringer, right? AKA Bard plus Dawnbringer. Class, scroll. Ketris with Divinia, it is a possibility. I just always worry like how the mana is going to shake out. But I mean, you could always just like, because you can't really You can't throw Gorgotha on that team, so that's kind of the problem. Because, like, what would you use as a mana generator if you were going to use Kedris plus Divinia? Now we're just taking a 3-match, not a 4-match, because I want him to cast his Trickster before I can finish him off. Okay, there we go. Now the team is back in proper order. Almost 100% chance, and now we can work on killing him. Yeah, like that's one thing that always sort of like held me back from like Ketris plus Divinia is, but I mean, I guess you could use Gorgotha. I mean, and you could use Leprechaun instead too. Like the mana always just seems really clunky, and if he gets hit like a couple of times, it just really just hurts his damage output. Yeah, this is that. I always hate seeing this goblin room with 1.2. It just makes me sad because it feels like such a waste of a level 5 room. And not a waste from their side. Just like it's going to be super high stats that I have to smash through, and I'm going to get no treasure room multiplier for it. Yeah, and people always ask me, like, what boosts the attack of Iron Gut when I do this particular team. But because it's got Bard, it'll just like slowly tick up. And if the first one doesn't get him, the second one might, or the third. And then all it takes is just one Devour, and then it's probably got 100 attack. Yeah, everyone always tries to just like build a team around getting that 100 attack right away. When it's like you could just like make that a side element and just like roll the dice a couple of times because he's not really the best in normal PvP attack teams because you just don't need that like those kinds of stats. And like now, once he hits 100, now we can literally just like explode everything and wait till he fills up again. And then he just devours the whole world. I hate when they continue to just endlessly devour or endlessly freeze my Gorgotha. But thankfully he cleanses himself and Divinia cleanses him too, so it's just a cycle of cleanse plus exploding plus health. Green plus double brown, so then Gorgotha's good to go. Go ahead and fire this off just because. Almost no reds, but that's okay. We'll just keep going. Yeah, like it's not like the fastest team in the world, but like when you get up to the higher level delves, you end up fighting stats with stats, and it has a decent success rate. Because really, all you need is enough armor, like, because Gorgotha can tank the skull hits, and then Divinia will give him health, and your win condition is just Iron Gut. And like the hard part is when you get to those dwarf rooms where you can't devour them, but then you've still just got his damage plus Bardbringer that's just slowly ticking up every turn. Where did that's one of the new room effects that I always forget about is I forgot that they gave us a room where we can inflict death mark. I'm like, where did that death mark come from? I'm just glad it's not on me, because nothing sucks like getting a death mark and then dying when you've got like Divinia or Gorgotha to cleanse him. I'll just take that skull hit. This just a fight where everything's going right. That's fine. Oh, you decided you wanted to live. But yeah, this isn't a team that I normally suggest to like low-level players because not like even if they've got Iron Gut, not all of them have Dawnbringer, so it's a harder thing to suggest. Which is why I wanted to start out the stream with the lower level teams that are easier to get, or at least something that they can farm with early. Okay. That's fine. Just But yeah, I first started just doing like team strategies like this back in Hall of Guardian, where you're sitting there, you're trying to fight against like that 400 damage gargoyle spellcast. So it's just like I don't have to win right away. Yeah, Divinia is just so good. Like, this is good, this is good, this is a first stat, so it is what it is. Explode all red is good, cleanse all allies is good, life for everybody is good. It's just, she's so good. And yeah, Divinia really is just an all be all. She's mana, she's health, she's cleanse, she's positive status effects, which can also come with a cleanse if you happen to get randomly blessed. I will let him skull hit me because it's not really a threat. Like that's why I just like Gorgotha on top. It's like you could just give them skulls because it just doesn't matter. Yeah, I think Gorgotha is the biggest reason why they're afraid to give demons a 50% mana troop, is because he's already so good that if you give him a fast start, it might just like really push him into the too strong range. this is one of the troops that I'm always a little afraid of. Not early on because his base damage is low, but he gains magic every time we cast a spell, and we're sitting here like we're constantly chaining stuff. So he's always a troop that I try and devour as soon as I can. There we go. Because he can just slaughter you very, very quickly. Alright, level 5. How close are we? 6,000 points away. 1,600. Shouldn't quite get there, but it's always close. And that's why I bought that first tier in the shop right away, as I just assumed that we would need it. And having access to that enchant right from the start is just really helpful. That. So now I need. They've all got barriers, so we can't devour anybody right now. Let's get rid of the barrier. Now we're not going to devour him because there's still a chance that he might set our team right. So we're going to wait to cast Dawnbringer. Or we're going to accidentally get a skull hit, which hits him and kills him. That works too. Like, you have these plans, and then, like, Dawnbringer's ability destroys one random yellow and one random red. And that, like, what are the odds that that's going to cascade into a 4 match or a skull match or anything, right? And then it does it, and it messes up your plan. It worked for the best. I'm not complaining, but it just like, here's this plan. This is exactly what I'm gonna do, and never mind, it didn't matter. Missed it by 400 points. Alright, so what was the Ketris plus Divinia? Alright. Now, one thing that we can do, if this is a plan that we want, is we can try and do, like, Leprechaun. Because Leprechaun can kind of give us a fast start. But then it's like, what do we use as our 4th troop? Like, we could use Gorgotha if we wanted to. Just Gorgotha, Divinia, Ketris. But then Ketris is like our only damage dealer. So it's like, that's always the question. And that's a Mat of Dame. Again, kind of reminding everybody, if you can, please hit that follow button. It really helps me out. And if you like what you see, go ahead and come back for the Friday stream that I do every week. I guess we'll just try this. It keeps our mana semi-diversified. Nobody's fully mana blocked. Ketris still has green. Iron Gut still has blue. We lose a class, but that's okay. I thought about Moon Rabbit, but you also have to remember that Trickster is a thing. And Trickster, like, I guess, because we need somebody who can hopefully survive if Trickster bumps him to the top. And that's why Iron Gut is good, because if you get that Devour, he can survive. Because remember, we're also losing our Bard buff here, so like the health that Divinia gives and the health that Rabbit gives are going to be static. I mean, we could always just use Dawnbringer in this scenario if we wanted to, because Ketris doesn't get the Bard buff, but he does get this. But yeah, he still gets these buffs when he makes a match, and he still gets all this life, and this continues to go up every turn. Yeah, so it's always kind of a toss-up, and we know Bard can kind of survive if it needs to. Yeah, like Ketris, he does so much damage, but it's like you don't want to put him on top because even if he reduces damage, he wants his armor. You can't put him on bottom because Trickster is too much of a risk. So I mean, we'll give it a try. I mean, we're still at kind of low level, so odds are likely it's still gonna work. Yep, here Trickster's ready to fire off. Now, in this case, this is something worth pointing out. In this first fight, when the first Trickster bumps you to the bottom, it's worth not firing Gorgotha, because if Divinia and Ketris or Divinia and Iron Gut are there, he is actually mana blocked. So I try to hold off on firing him until our order gets put back. So we're going to try and let him cast. Alright. And then he's going to fill from his own explodes and once again render my plan pointless. Perfect. Just how I planned it. It's just how I drew it up. We'll just keep exploding and see if we can fill Ketris. Okay. He'll cast Lapina. 47 is not enough to kill, so one more cast will fill him. So if we get a 4-match, or he'll Skullbait himself, and then he'll die. But yeah, Trickster just adds so much RNG that this is one of the factions that people hate the most. I don't mind it. I like it because it's yellow, and I have sort of a plan that usually works most of the time. But like, if you don't have Dawnbringer, or you don't have Iron Gut, or you don't have all the Kingdom stats, it can be a really brutal faction, and you can just lose on the first fight and had no chance. That being said, if Ketris takes no damage, he hits like a beast. We cannot take away the fact that he hits like a beast if he has taken no damage. Like, how much damage is Ketris doing right now without any casts? Base, oh, actually, we'll do 6, so boost ratio, okay, wow, so that's 30 plus 45 is 75. 75 plus 48 is like 123. So that's like 154 damage base to his first target, and half of that to surrounding targets. And then every time Divinia casts, or we get a red match, that just goes up. And then we have Dawnbringer to help barrier him, which is important. But yeah, like that's why I like Dawnbringer with that particular scenario, is because if that Drake Rider hits him, suddenly his damage potential goes down. And if he's going to be one of your two, or possibly your only damage dealer, like if we had Iron Gut in that place, we have no defense for him other than just more life gain. So it's kind of risky. Alright, so just one more, not one more fight, we're almost done with the faction. So while we're wrapping up this last delve, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask about? More for fast, low-level rooms. Alright, I will go in to a normal delve after this, and I will try to outline more stuff like that. Red and brown. Oh, and of course, now that we got all the rewards and we paid the 30 gems to make sure that we got it, guess where the last raven pops up, right? Classic. And then there are those mimics again. They haven't gotten me today, but I've had fights. Like that 1 in 6 chance. It seems so small, but all it has to do is get you once. And then you're afraid of it forever. And this is another scenario where if you don't have Dawnbringer, you could again use like Sun and Moon in its place, and it would work just fine if you happen to have Sun and Moon. It's a pretty rare weapon nowadays, but it's still really good if they happen to have it. It's loading. Now, this is something that I meant to point out. One of the biggest concerns with Gorgotha is Rock Troll. Because of the way this works out, when you match the skulls, it stuns you, and then the skull damage hits. So he hits you for full damage every time. So Rock Troll is Gorgotha's natural enemy. Yeah, like it's low level, but is he gonna kill us? Like he got close. He got really close. I think I'm gonna Divinia. Let him do that. Kill the troll, and now we've got some health and a barrier. But yeah, like they're only level 63, and I had substantial stats, but they're still really scary. Yeah, I tried to make sure everybody got it when it came in that shop. But yeah, Rock Troll is always scares me when I've got a Gorgotha lead. Because his biggest defense is his skull reduction, and Rock Troll doesn't care. Now, okay, actually, I think we're okay. I think if we put up barriers, I don't think this Mimic can kill me. Okay, I don't think he could devour me. I still live in perpetual fear. I've been wronged so many times. Now, while we're here, let's go ahead and grab this. Ascension, pretty. Thankfully, this is the last fight, so we don't have to worry if this trickster does too much of his shenanigans. Divinia is still enchanted, so we can go ahead and do this. Time for some cute impalement, which I'm not entirely sure how you impale somebody in a cute way as a bunnycorn, but you know. You do you, right? You do you. That's no more of that. Also, something to be wary of if you run an Iron Gut team is Bunnycorn charms one random ally, and if you devour them and gain plus 200 attack, that's really scary. I'll just go ahead and do this, and this isn't quite enough, but it should get us pretty close. Enough reds, not quite. But one more thing. There we go. Alrighty. So we already collected that. No, dungeon. I'll deal with that later. Right, that's way over here now, because we already did it. Alright, so other fast teams. Now, because it's part green, like whenever you think about like potentially fast teams, you always have to remember like what color it is and what teams you've used in other places. Actually, I have to remember something. I thought so. So, speaking of fast teams, like let's say that you were going to do low level farming. One team you can use for low level farming is is the classic Skeleton Key team. Now, whether you want to use Thief, whether you want to use Titan, or whether you want to just like level up a class, now it's worth remembering in the Delve events on Tuesday and Friday when they happen, each fight is worth 2 class experience, but in normal delves, it's only worth 1. So this is a team that you could use. It's kind of like the normal greed team. For those that don't have Cedric, you could also use something like Cedric, or not Cedric, Leprechaun, for example. But this, along with, I believe, All-Seeing Eye, you can use the normal Skeleton Key team for. So, other potential fast teams for potential low-level players is another thing that this place has is Rowan. So you could use Rowan is a troop that it does a lot of scatter damage, which can one-shot basically every fight for the most part. Now remember, this is for when you're like farming level 20. You wouldn't want to take this up into the higher damage or the higher level delves, because once you get up so high, her damage kind of falls off. What else do we have? I believe Ranger. Ranger is kind of similar in that regard. He does base damage and then 8 damage randomly split among them, boosted by enemies alive. So in this case, it would be 24 base for me, and then 32 randomly split among them if all 4 of them are still alive. Valkyrie is a good troop to help feed Rowan, and she also helps tank and doesn't actually take up any of the mana. So that is a good combo, and it works quite nicely. If you need another random troop to sprinkle into your Bard team, and like let's say you don't want to use Atlanta or something, Piper is actually really good. Does base true damage, and again that stacks up with Bard really nicely. Paladin is sort of tempting because of that big boost ratio, but it's kind of difficult because it doesn't have but again, he's kind of like Tetris or kind of like Rowan, where if he takes any damage, it really cripples his ability to damage for the rest of the fight. Midge Swarm is actually another troop that can kind of pair well with, not necessarily with Rowan, but potentially aside or instead of Rowan, because in this case it would do 31 scatter damage, and if it kills any troops, like it'll still do more scatter damage. So it's kind of a good go-between scatter damage and all damage. And you could combine him with Gimlet. You can turn all green to brown, so it's an empowered troop, so it starts with full mana, and it makes brown mana. So that is something that you could also do to help feed Midge Swarm. What else do we have? been a long time since I've looked through some of like the lower rarity troops. Direboar is another pretty respectably powerful troop. Destroy a row, which isn't too terribly bad, but then X damage to like the first two enemies is pretty impressive for farming low-level delves. While we're also talking combos, kind of like old school combos are Wyvern plus Scorpius. If I can type. Puppy, puppy, puppy! Come here. Come here. Or run away. That's kind of the same thing. Alright, so I think he hurt himself. He does X damage to the first two enemies and poisons the last two. And the reason that poisoning the last two is so important is because Scorpius damages the last two, and it straight up kills them if they are poisoned. Now, the problem there is there are a fair few dwarven rooms, and dwarves almost all have fortitude, which makes them immune to poison, disease, and other things. So you can't actually use that combo to kill the dwarf rooms. What else do we have? Base parity. Scroll down to rare. Old archer. No. Got a lot of boopity going on. Sandrunner is kind of an old troop from before, which is actually kind of powerful. This one popped up in the monster invasion event, and he works pretty well with Bard as well. He doesn't have the skull reduction that Gorgotha does, and he shares the same colors, but you could always pair him with Knight Coronet. So then they tank one tanks pretty well, and then that, and then you throw in Bard. Now he's less effective because I believe he's like magic divided by 2 plus 4, I think. But yeah, so each magic boost he gets from Bard has half the effect with him than it normally does for damaging troops. Sorry, my microphone popped out there. This is a good time to kidnap my puppy and force him to be a celebrity. Ugh. Are you a good pupper? You want to say hi to all the people? Okay, you stay here and be good. Means try to run away at every available opportunity. Alright, while we're talking about randomly good troops, because that's kind of what we're at here. Petting my puppy because he's adorable. Braddock says, hi, pretty puppy. Oh, sorry, is my microphone tickling your ears? Actually, speaking of random comments, Fire Giant plus Hindra is still kind of a pretty effective combo. And then you can combine that with Titan Class. So go ahead and check So you could combine that with Jotnar, probably not Dog and Good, possibly Sledgepaw if you wanted a tank. Wait, no, never mind. Colors complicate. Alright, you can run away. He wanted to run. Alright, but I think that's about as much time as I have right now, so I'm going to let you guys go for now. But again, if you guys liked what you saw, go ahead and click that follow button and join me again on Tuesday, or I mean on Friday. But yeah, join me. I'm going to be doing streams every Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday is going to be a bit more casual, where I kind of highlight either the Delve events and random things. And then Friday, I'm going to try and highlight all the new events that are going on. So, again, like, follow, and you guys have a good day, and I will see you on Friday. Umbrella, thank you. He is really cute. Tell your daughter I said hi, and you guys all have a good night. I will see you all on Friday.